Welcome to another episode of The Shift, powered by ET Edge Insights. We have a very special guest with us today, Chairman of NABARD, Shaji KV. Thank you so much for doing this with us, sir. It was a delight collaborating with NABARD, GIZ as part of the India Leadership Council community. We have a couple of questions for you on climate and agriculture. What is NABARD's strategic vision for climate resilience?
So, as you know, NABARD is a development financial institution, and whichever area which we work, we develop the ecosystem. Primary mandate is to work in rural areas, and as you are aware, in rural areas, a lot of problems are there due to climate events and such other things. So, naturally, the climate is one of the area where we need to work on, and particularly so when much of the Indian population is dependent on agriculture, which is impacted severely by the climate events.
True.
So, on that role, what we need to do is that first of all, the policy level interventions we need to do with the government of India and also with the state governments, because agriculture being a state subject, we need to do a lot of advocacy with the state governments as well to inculcate within them the climate resilience aspects for that. That is one thing which we need to do. We will be doing, we are also doing that, and then of course directly on the agriculture we need to now develop climate resilience in agriculture sector. So, we need to work with the farmers, we need to work with area based programs for that, because climate is not a micro level intervention, it is a macro level intervention which we need to do. And then of course the rural infrastructure is one area where we are working on, and there also the climate resilience need to be climate sensitivity, we need to be addressing that in creating rural infrastructure. As you are aware, India's infrastructure is yet to be built properly. As we march towards the Vikasit Bharat, I think the infrastructure need to be put in properly, and in that count, well, as we build the infrastructure, climate resilience need to be there. So, that is the third area which we need to work, and also we need to do a lot of collaborations. That is the fourth area, collaboration, because alone NABARD may not be able to do. We have to collaborate both with public sector, with the governments, with the private sector for that. And then the research and innovation is another area which we need to now get into, because these are all evolving areas. A lot of innovative interventions need to be there. For that, R&D is very important. So, that is also one thing, plus the capacity building. So, whatever we do, we need to build capacity, we need to build awareness among those who are in the rural areas about these activities. So, these are all the areas which we do.
Thank you so much for that response, Chairman sir. I completely agree with you. This is a top-down approach and not something that one can pull off individually. You will need the support of both private, public and government sectors to be able to make an impact when it comes to climate resilience, infrastructure and to help India march towards its goal of a Viksit Bharat. My second question to you is, how are NABARD's collaborations and partnerships aligned to drive sustainable development, especially with the private sector?
Private sector is an active player, and without private sector we can't build resilience, because everything can't be dependent on government or in public sector. That is first thing, we should recognize that fact. Having recognized that fact, private sector also need to understand they need to build resilience within their business plans as well. Climate resilience need to be built in as a normal activity rather than as a standalone activity. That is one thing. Second thing, the private sector has innovative, lot of bandwidth for innovation, and climate area needs a lot of innovations. So, we need to partner with the innovative aspects of private sector, and then they have resources as well. They can raise resources, and they themselves are flooded with resources, but then the climate is one area where financial returns may not be appropriate, where the private sector can come in and play with their resources. So, they need to be more aware of the impact rather than the financial return alone. So, it is a blended return which they need to be realizing from the resources which they are deploying. And plus the collaborations which you talked about is that we have a lot of international collaborations which we have, along with the Green Climate Fund, we have the Adaptation Fund, we have collaborations. We should leverage those collaborations for bringing in some concessional funds into here, and with the concessional fund as the nucleus, we can leverage the private sector capital over here, and then improve our activities or enlarge our activities in the climate space.
Understood. Thank you. Thank you so much for that response. My final question to you, Chairman sir, is please highlight the role of private sector in climate finance in finance. You very briefly touched upon it while you were speaking as part of a previous response, but if you could be a little more elaborative.
Yeah. So, right now if you see the climate finance as a whole in India, the role of private sector is now minimal. But right now, as understandably, because these are the initial phases of building climate resilience, so government has to first act and then public sector will come in, and then having proven the concepts and all, now it's a turn of private sector to come in and put their resources, innovative capabilities into finding solutions for the climate related actions. So, in that count, now it is the right time for the private sector to come in. For that, as I told earlier, they should not merely look at the financial returns. Market related returns they may not get through such interventions initially, but then the sustainability of their returns, that is what they should also realize, that they should not look at profit as a sole motive, they should look at the sustainability of that profits. For that, if they realize that, then more resources of private sector can flow into the areas which we want for building climate resilience. Plus, as a development financial institution, we can also come in with some seed funds, some concessional funds through our collaborations. Also, we can put in our own money as a nucleus to attract this private sector funds. As earlier I said about our international collaborations with multilateral agencies, like green climate funds, which are major sources of concessional funds. So, these funds can be leveraged and can be enlarged using private sector plus government finances as well for making a larger impact. So, in that count, I think private finances are very important. As I said, they should only look at sustainability of the returns first. Second, the impact also, rather than sole motive of getting some financial returns.
Absolutely. It can't just be a pursuit for profit. It also has to have a larger purpose behind it. And with that, Jaimin sir, thank you so much for being with us today on The Shift, which is powered by ET Edge Insights. It was lovely having you, and we appreciate the collaboration, and we look forward to doing more in the future.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
It's a pleasure as well.
Thank you so much.